From the City of Angels, you are listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On today's episode, welcome to the Identity Redesigned Matrix. So let me strike the music, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Engage.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
What's up, savages, and what's up, fellow Americans? Thank you for listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. I am your host, James Salazar, a.k.a. The Media. Now, you might be thinking, what is this? Identity Redesign Matrix. Well, this is my signature coaching program. And if you listened to the podcast before, I told you I was going to shift the James Salazar Media Podcast into a podcast that focuses on coaching people, helping people, servicing people to be the best versions of themselves. A lot of people struggle every day. A lot of people have problems every day trying to follow through on their dreams. And if you never use me for coaching, I still want to give you the tools and the concepts and precepts and mindsets to be somebody who follows through on their dreams, finishes what they start, because people have a lot of problem doing that. So my aim is for you to see the what entails in life coaching, as well as getting some free information from me on how to be a better version of yourself. And if coaching is something that would work for you, then this is a platform to find out. So, but before we get into all that, I still want to talk about a lot of news that's been going on. Oh, and referring to all the other subjects I like talking about politics. And I'm going to talk about politics right now. And I like talking about futurism. But I'm going to set up other podcasts so I can focus on those subjects and not feel pulled to talk about one subject. You know, when you're doing a podcast, I've never have a problem with content. I can talk about anything. And I can talk about politics, I can talk about futurism, I can talk about mindsets, I can talk about entertainment. And, but what happens is, I don't know what to talk. I don't know which to choose to talk about. Should I do a little bit of everything? Should I just focus on one? And it's really become clear to me, the way I'm going to solve this is probably going to have a podcast that focuses on futurism and a podcast that focuses on politics. And those will be coming forthwith, hopefully before the year ends. And, but until then, I'm going to talk about a little bit of news, a little bit of what's going on in politics and in futurism, and just give you little nuggets just to whet your appetite for those podcasts. But then follow in through with the subject of the day. In saying that, let's get into some news. So the Democratic presidential debates just happened, and there were some interesting moments. The most interesting moment for me that I thought, that everybody jumped on Julian Castro for telling Joe Biden, "Are you forgetting what you're saying?" Which I thought was funny. It's a play on his age. I mean, and I don't know why people are getting offended. I mean, and he said rightly, it's a presidential debate. And Joe Biden had a lot of struggle talking. He sort of mumbled his words, and when the crowd, the protesters in the back who want to disrupt the debates, it shut him down. It worked. He didn't try to talk over them. He should have talked over them. He should have addressed them, made them look stupid, do something like that. Talk about the democratic process and what it means. But he didn't do that. So people suspect that his numbers will drop. Now we're looking at Elizabeth Warren probably to take the lead. But there are some other people in there that are pushing back. And you see, what's the problem with the Democratic base is that they have lost all sense of reality. They are just promising, they're promising to the American people that some health care and free education and a climate change bill, that each one of them, just by their own, would bankrupt the United States of America. Some of these ideas are so outlandish. $33 million. $33 trillion, sorry. $trillion. That's more. That's almost the exact amount. I just stepped on a pin. Damn, that hurt. Son of a bitch. That thing just went right through my skin into my toe. Shit happens. But back what I was saying. I'm bleeding. I'm drawing the blood. I drew the blood. These programs are so overpriced that you got some of the people on the debate stage coming in at way lower numbers. Once, I don't remember who it was. It's one of the lower people in the percentages of people who think they would win. Says they're going to come in at a $3 trillion price tag, which sounds so reasonable compared to our 33 million, and which is a smart play, even though I think pretty much all of it is stupid. And my thought about this: capitalism will save the world. Capitalism will save the environment. You let the capitalist free. If you start giving tax incentives for people to work through capitalism to fix the environment, instead of trying to go through government, who has since time immemorial have been inept at everything they put their hand to, we should have special incentives for those who want to help the environment do it through capitalism, because we're a capitalistic society. And but it's good because everybody's pushing back on these outlandish ideas that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, and they're some of the leaders. But it's dangerous. It's dangerous what they're proposing, and in fact, they wouldn't do it. It would be such a hit to the American economy that the fact of the matter is, they would, when they got into office, they couldn't do it. They would see it. Every economist would say, no, it needs to be a quarter of what you want. And that's even to say whether it would work or not. But I think that will only allow them to take that much of the economy. So, so far this debate has been who can offer more to more people. Bernie Sanders has free health care. Elizabeth Warren has free education. And I think one of them have a climate bill that's nuts. So, we need to solve the debt of those who went to school. Like, let me just tell you right now, if you have a $200,000 debt and you you got it from liberal studies, people took an advantage of you because that shit don't lead to jobs. I don't think credit cards should fund that type of education. I think if people default on those loans and they have a, the government should say, we're not going to cover your loans. No, we're going to allow you to have insurance on any loans made on schooling that doesn't have to do with a technical education. And look, I'm an artist. And let me tell you, only like 10%, if that, 10% of the people who graduate from music college ever do anything with music. Either they may all become teachers, but they all end up having to get a day job and do their music on the side, which is very fine. But they have a college debt. And should we fund 90% of musicians trying to go to music college for the 10% that will actually go out and do some kind of art? I don't know. Because the fact of the matter is, especially in today, you don't need teachers to teach you how to make music. We have the internet. We have YouTube. You can. There's like a lot of free educational sources that will allow you to thrive as a musician without having a loan that can bankrupt you or always hanging over your head for the rest of your life. So, we should only fund aerospace, people going into aerospace, engineering, housing. We should fund trades. This idea that people should have, everybody should have go to college. We need to be more thoughtful that each individual person works in a different way. These generalities that come down from the federal government have done us a disservice. We are a more advanced society. We should be able to meet the individual's needs and what their education is. If someone's good with their hands, someone's good talking, send these people to college for 4 years just to be good at taking tests. Where when you go to college for engineering, you have to know that information, or you're going to create a structure that's going to fall all apart. So, it's just my thoughts. I finished that Mindhunter TV show on Netflix. That was awesome. Serial killers. And the guy who played Charles Manson, he was amazing. I suggest everybody just to go look for that episode. I was taken back by that interview that they do with Charlie Manson. And it was supposed to be word for word, so I thought it was great. Serial killers. And speaking of serial killers, let's get into our subject. Not so much serial killers, but mass murderers. You see, when you study people like Hitler, Pol Pot, Stalin, Mao, when you look at their history, the baseline emotion of where they made their terrible choices came from an ideology that believed that they were victims. And because they felt like victims, they felt entitled or allowed themselves to hurt other people. And the extreme forms of victimization will always lead to like suicide or murder. But one of the principles in life coaching that you will face pretty much immediately if you ever get into life coach is a principle and a question. And the question goes like this: do you take 100% responsibility for your life? You see, if you take 100% responsibility for your life, you can't see yourself as a victim. Now, many people hate this question and they don't like it. They think it's unfair. And their natural instinct is to reject it. And what happens, they go through a myriad of emotions and a myriad of circumstances in their life where they were hurt, rejected, misused. And they say to themselves, if you had those experiences, you would make the same choices as I have. There are people who are going to hurt you in your life. There are people who are going to wrong you, betray you, but they need your permission to make you a victim. The reason why you are here today is how you processed and perceived and changed your outlook on life based on those circumstances. One of the major things that helped me grasp this idea of personal responsibility when I was feeling like a victim and feeling sorry for myself and allowing my past to give me an excuse of why I have not produced in the future or in the present was that there's been plenty of people who've had it worse than me and who have accomplished more. When I had to deal with that statement, it was a hit to my ego. It was a hit to my pride, and it was a glaring light that showed that my excuse I make for the myriad of people who may have betrayed me or hurt me or misused me were that excuses. It's not that anybody's not going to hurt you. It's how you perceive. You see, pressure can burst pipes, but it also can make a diamond. There's two ways to look at something. If someone's done something horrendous to you, like rape or murder your family, you can look at that situation and say to yourself, because I went through that, because I overcame that, nothing can stop me. Nothing can break me. At least didn't see themselves as a victim in a sense where they gave themselves an excuse not to live their life. I was talking to a guy I know, very charismatic, good-looking guy, very talented. And we went out to get some drinks, and he was telling me about his 3 wives. He has been divorced 3 times. And he proceeded to tell me how he was in that relationship and what they said about that relationship, and that he was very needy, very controlling, wanted to give a lot of gifts, never believed, always giving and giving and giving, never believing the woman that they loved him for him. And as we go back in his past, we see that he had a father that didn't show him any love or affection, which is super sad, which has trained him that and that striving to please his father. He did the same thing in his relationship with women, but women don't tolerate those things. And what he did was a bait and switch on them. He was this charismatic, lighting up the room, alpha male, and then when he got into a relationship, he was this weak, needy person, and they couldn't deal with it. He broke the deal, but he was describing it as a virtue that, who wouldn't want a guy who's always holding your hand? Who wanted a guy who would spend all the money on you? Who wanted a guy who wants to spend all the time with you? And they weren't. Nobody is. People don't want to lose themselves in relationships. See, he was able to act like his true self because there was no risk. No one fell in love with him yet. He was just being himself, trying to be charismatic. But as soon as he had something to lose, because he didn't trust people to love him, he began to manipulate and control. Now, 3 times in, 3 relationships? I mean, you got to take responsibility for that. And he knew instinctively what the problem was, but he didn't want to believe it. How he perceived. He couldn't help that his father did that to him. He couldn't help it. He can't help that. How he was going to go forward. And he probably couldn't have helped it when he was a child. I mean, who does not want to please their father? But when you start getting self-aware of who you are, and you start being self-aware of your weaknesses, sooner or later you have to grow up and mature and realize that the things that the coping mechanism created in that from that lifestyle, from that home, are now roadblocks to your happiness. And you have to take 100% responsibility. How you perceived and processed those less than ideal households, those less than ideal relationships, less than ideal social situations where you get in a fight, someone murdered your family, you were raped, wherever. You have a choice before you to act like a victim or act like a victor. Because if you can change how you see these situations, because you can't change the situation, but you can change how you see the situation, how you process the information, how you see and process those information determines how your outlook in life is going to be, and how your outlook in life is going to be is going to determine your choices. That's all under your control. And as soon as you take responsibility of your outlook, you take responsibility for your outcomes based upon your choices, the more likely you're going to take responsibility for the rest of your life. And when you take responsibility for the rest of your life, you will not let it become this thing that's happening to you, but you are happening to it. You are affecting it. You are controlling it. Because someone who doesn't take responsibility, that's a life that things are just happening to them and they're reacting. We no longer want you to react. We want you to be calculated about about what you're going to do and the choices you make. And it begins with taking 100% responsibility. Now look, I'm not some asshole who goes to a person who's just got her family murdered or who's just been raped and says, hey, do you take 100% responsibility for this? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the journey forward to mental health and personal health, the journey forward to healing begins on how you process the information. You can process it as a victim, being afraid to be in relationships and never be with somebody ever again, or never be around men. Or you can take the situation that I went through this. I am stronger. This didn't destroy me. I overcame it. I triumphant over it. And I am going to be a better person because of it. What they try to destroy in me, what they try to take from me, I will not let them take. But I will take from that situation strength, focus, and purpose, and a life focus on love, health, and all of the above. Or you could be someone who goes through life triggered, easily offended, easily upset. The minor things get you upset. You see, that's the way victimization works. You see, it happens with one big event, and then every other event, no matter how small, triggers you the same way, triggers you with the same emotion. Before, you were triggered about the major disappointment in your life. Now you get triggered because you think somebody's talking about you. It ends up taking away your tolerance from any kind of disappointment. And you start feeling a victim on everything you do. In every circumstances you're in every relationship that you have. It fogs your mind. It puts blinders on your eyes, and you're always looking for a reason to be offended. I'm telling you, you need to cut that shit. You need to realize that all the things that happened to you, you survived. And now that you're stronger than ever, you need to accept where the decisions that you made were yours, on where you are today, and change what you don't like. Granted, all easier said than done, but whether it's easy or not has no bearing on whether it's true or not. So I leave you with this today. Take full responsibility of your life. It is the height of intellect. Hey, if you are of need of life coaching, I have the Identity Redesign Matrix, where we go through your life, and we go through your choices, and we map out your future. We redesign a more powerful intellect and identity to compete in this new future economy. Go to JamesSalazarMedia.com and check out my services and book a phone call. And we'll talk. We'll talk. Until then, my friends, when the storms of life come against you and you find yourself on your knees, stand tall. Take a look at that storm and say what my sensei Jack Burton always says: give me your best shot. Strike the music.